When Les Paul's children opened his vault after his passing, they had no idea they were about to uncover a treasure trove that would leave them speechless. Inside, they found priceless guitars, stacks of royalty checks that never stopped rolling in, and patents worth millions. But that was only the beginning. What followed was a whirlwind of family disputes, record-breaking auctions, and the unraveling of one of music's most astonishing fortunes, all stemming from a mere $5 contract. Born Lester William Pulsfuss on June 9, 1915, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, Les Paul's story began long before he revolutionized music. His mother, Evelyn, had ties to the Milwaukee brewing industry, while his father, George, ran a garage where young Lester spent hours tinkering with spare parts. He saw potential in everything, even the family's wooden staircase, which he trimmed to create different pitches, transforming it into a makeshift musical instrument. It was clear from an early age, this kid wasn't just playing around, he was inventing the future. By the time he was 5, he was already entertaining crowds, standing on tables at Rotary Club meetings and belting out tunes. A music teacher once dismissed his talent, claiming he would never learn music, but that only fueled his determination. At 8, he dismantled a harmonica just to understand its inner workings, then put it back together and taught himself to play. By 9, he had built his first radio, stringing an antenna between trees to pull sound straight from the air. At 10, his desire to play both guitar and harmonica simultaneously led him to create a hands-free harmonica holder using scraps of wood and a bent-wire coat hanger. His brother, who worked at a dry cleaner, provided an endless supply of hangers, which Les tirelessly reworked until he perfected his design. At 12, a heckler at a drive-in restaurant told him, "Your guitar's too quiet." That was all it took. Determined to amplify his sound, he grabbed a telephone mouthpiece, wired it to a radio speaker, and began experimenting. What started as a desperate attempt to be heard would eventually change the course of music history. By 13, he was playing in roadhouses under the stage name Red Hot Red, earning $5 a night. Good money at the time. By 15, he had 2 separate musical personas. As Rhubarb Red, he played country on St. Louis radio. As Les Paul, he performed jazz in Chicago clubs. He was constantly shifting between styles, experimenting, searching for something new. By 17, he left school to tour, playing with Rube Tronson's Texas Cowboys, and later joining Sonny Joe Wolverton's band. His career took a pivotal turn when he performed at Beekman's Barbecue, where he played guitar for tips while a tin bucket sat beside him. Some nights, he made up to $14, enough to buy more radio parts. For Les, music and invention weren't separate. They were intertwined. In 1934, he moved to Chicago, where his career began to skyrocket. He performed at the Chicago World's Fair and landed radio gigs that exposed him to a massive audience. He played country music during the day as Rhubarb Red, but by night he delved into jazz, where he absorbed new techniques and refined his style. His time in Chicago introduced him to legendary musicians like Art Tatum, whose piano skills defied human limitations, and Django Reinhardt, who redefined guitar playing despite losing the use of 2 fingers in a fire. Les didn't just admire these musicians, he studied them, played alongside them, and absorbed everything they had to offer. He wasn't just becoming a great guitarist, he was becoming an innovator. Years later, when Reinhardt passed away unexpectedly at 43, Les honored his mentor in a way few knew. He quietly helped pay for his funeral. Reinhardt had taught him that music wasn't just about playing well. It was about breaking barriers, about doing what others thought was impossible. Les Paul never set out to change music. He just wanted his guitar to be louder. In the 1930s, Acoustic guitars struggled to be heard in large venues, even with pickups. He tried everything, stuffing the guitar's body with rags, wood, even plaster of Paris. But nothing eliminated the feedback. Then, one night, desperation led to inspiration. He attached a phonograph needle to his guitar, amplifying the sound. It was a crude fix, but it sparked an idea. The problem wasn't just the pickup, it was the guitar's hollow body itself. By 1941, he had built something revolutionary. The log, a 4x4 solid piece of wood with a guitar neck and pickups attached. To make it look more traditional, he bolted hollow guitar sides onto it, but they were purely cosmetic. The real innovation lay in the solid core. No more unwanted vibrations, no more feedback, just pure, sustained sound. In 1943, he moved to Los Angeles, where he set up a recording studio in his garage. With encouragement from Bing Crosby, he began experimenting with groundbreaking recording techniques. He pioneered overdubbing, multi-track recording, and speed manipulation, techniques that would later become industry standards. Then, disaster struck. In 1948, a car accident shattered his right arm and elbow. Doctors wanted to amputate, but Les refused. Instead, he convinced them to set his arm at a permanent angle so he could still play guitar. It was a painful sacrifice, but giving up music was never an option. While recovering, he continued developing his recording techniques, refining the methods that would revolutionize the music industry. During this time, he met Mary Ford, a singer with a voice that perfectly complemented his sound. They married in 1949 and became a powerhouse duo. Between 1950 and 1957, they produced 28 charting hits, including How High the Moon and Vaya con Dios. Their recordings sounded fuller, richer, almost orchestral, because of Les's innovations in sound layering and overdubbing. Instead of relying on major studios, he transformed garages and hotel rooms into recording spaces, placing microphones strategically and even carving an echo chamber into the rock beneath his New Jersey home. By 1953, Les Paul and Mary Ford were not just music stars, they were television pioneers. Their show, Les Paul and Mary Ford at Home, aired 5 times a week, giving audiences an intimate look into their musical world. His innovations shaped modern music, and the Gibson Les Paul stands as a symbol of rock history, forever proving that his sound was, and always will be, timeless. And that's the incredible story of Les Paul, the man who didn't just play music but completely changed it. From a kid tinkering with coat hangers to a legend whose guitars shaped rock history, his genius lives on in every riff, solo, and power chord. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite Les Paul moment, and don't forget to subscribe for more legendary stories. Next up, we're uncovering another music icon's untold secrets. Until then, remember, without Les Paul, rock and roll might have sounded a whole lot quieter.